Final Fantasy IV, a game that brings people back to their childhoods, and with the current pixel remastered gets me eager into wanting to 100% it. But before we start the video, all I want to say is this was streamed live on Twitch, so if you would like to join in on my 100% playthroughs live, come hang out on my Twitch, where I try to stream every day. So with the current release of Pixel Remastered, I've been 100%ing all the Final Fantasy games, started with 1, now I'm all the way up to 4. So let's just do a recap of some of these side achievements in the game before I run down the story achievements. First, gold achievements were plain and simple and didn't take too long to finish. Because they're just gold achievements, let's just be honest with you, like you get gold everywhere. Chests, monsters, but monsters mostly. Chests were not that bad, took a lot of backtracking to find them, all but ended up finding them, even the hidden ones that were a bit difficult to find in the underground waterway, but they just ended up being in a hidden room behind a waterfall on the first floor. The hidden item achievement I found to be a bit harder in this game than the previous game, Final Fantasy III, because there ended up being a hidden path on the right side of the town of Baron in the trees that took me around 30 minutes to an hour to find. So these hidden paths, like in Final Fantasy IV, I found like a lot more difficult to find than in Final Fantasy III. And I figured out that with the hidden items in the Sylph Cottage and the Land of Summons, those hidden items are only available after defeating Bahamut on the moon and obtaining his summon. So those grimoires in the bookshelves are only obtainable after defeating Bahamut. So that took some time. The achievement Sword of Myth, where you get Excalibur, was really simple. The item we needed to exchange for the Excalibur from the man in the Adamant Grotto was in a chest in the Land of Summons. That's all there was to it. It was just in a chest in the Land of Summons. The Tale of Myth achievement was a doozy though. So the pink tail is only obtained by Princess Flans in a room in the last dungeon of the game. And I will say this, fighting those monsters, the Princess Flans, were a pain. It's apparently a 1 in 64 chance to drop, and I'm so glad that I got really lucky and got it on, I think, the 4th attempt. I'm positive it was the 4th attempt. So yeah, this one, if you're not lucky, will drive you crazy in my opinion. This is just how long it takes to kill those Princess Flans. The Summon Collector achievement was pretty fast for me, and let me run this down for you on how to get this achievement. So you must teach Rydia, your summoner, all the secret summon magic, which are items that have a low chance of dropping from monsters such as goblins, helldivers, bombs, and mind flayers. I found out that I had the helldiver and goblin summon items, which I think the helldiver one is called Cockatrice, and in items in my inventory, so that was half the work done already, and I finished up the mind flayer and bomb one in less than an hour, I think so. I think around that much time. I'm not sure if it was just because they bumped up the item drop rate in Pixel Remastered, or if I just got extremely lucky. But it went by pretty smoothly. Like in less than an hour, I got the two last hidden item. I mean, in less than an hour, I got the two last hidden summon magic items, which was actually pretty good. That's actually a pretty good time in my opinion. The Summon Master achievement was fun, so. To get this achievement, you must teach Rydia all the non-secret summon magic, which is Sylph, Asura, I think that Ashura, Leviathan, Bahamut, and Odin. Like each boss for the summon magic had a specific puzzle way of defeating them. Like for example, Queen Ashura. You needed to use Rosa to cast Reflect on Ashura, so that it would reflect the cure magic the boss would do on herself. Odin, you had to do lightning damage every time his sword is raised in the air, or he will one-shot your entire party. And Bahamut, you need to use Rosa to cast Reflect on 2 of your allies before Bahamut fires his Mega Beam and instantly wiping your entire party. Power Unleashed, so there are weapons sealed behind bosses in the last dungeon of the game. These weapons are the most powerful weapons you will find for your characters in the game. All the bosses were cakewalks in my opinion, except for one, Dark Bahamut. I think that's how you say the name. This is legit where I grinded up to level 70 on all my characters so I could stand a chance beating this nightmare of a boss. Because when underleveled, he not only outspeeds you first turn, but his first attack, if you don't have enough HP for, it will one-shot almost your entire party at around level 58. But as soon as I leveled up to level 70, it was a lot more manageable because I would survive the first attack that he would do. 100% Bestiary achievement was somewhat decent. I ended up saving at specific areas in the game just in case if I ever missed a missable monster. Only ended up missing 2 missable monsters in unrevisitable areas of the game, while 7 others were just in specific locations. But I'll be honest with you, trying to figure out where this monster called the Yellow Dragon was a pain, because you can apparently get it from a mystery egg hatch outside in the underworld, but the spawn rate is abysmally low. So I ended up figuring out from a YouTube video that if I went to a previous save file just before the sealed cave, like entering the sealed cave, I can kill all but one of the trapdoors on a specific floor, and the last trapdoor will summon into a yellow dragon if you bring it down to almost dead health and wait for it to change into a yellow dragon when you bring it down to that health. So it made it a lot more easier to do when I figured that out. Now the story achievements. Our first achievement comes to us right off the bat when the king sends us to bring in a bombardment ring to the village of Mist. Little did we know it would destroy the whole town, but this is where we find our first party member, Rydia the Summoner, who we have to protect and who hates us at the moment, and get our first achievement, Inflammatory Decisions. Going through more of the story, we end up in Mount Ordeals, the place after landing in Mysidia. This area was actually kinda difficult, but we ended up facing one of the elemental lords here, which was a cakewalk compared to the monsters of the area, and went to, I think it was a grave or a shrine, where we end up hearing a voice to become a paladin. But to become a paladin, we must fight our previous class at the time, which was the Dark Knight, I think it was, in a battle. This took me a while to figure out because, like, the whole puzzle behind this was you don't attack. You just heal up what the enemy Dark Knight does to you as a paladin. You just, because it says in the text at the top, if you do attack, that a true paladin would sheath his sword. And then we obtain the achievement, The Light's Chosen. Coming back to Baron, we find that the king has been slain and replaced with a doppelganger, which is one of the elemental lords, Cagnazo, the Lord of Water. The fight before this was more difficult in my opinion with the General Baron, because he was also a demon. He also got demonic powers from Golbez, but all this fight was just casting thunder or lightning or a lightning spell whenever the tides surround the boss's body, and it made it really simple to do. And then we obtained the achievement, Overcoming Grief. Now we're in the Tower of Zot, where at the end of the dungeon we free Rosa and get into a fight with the Lord of Wind, Barcia? I think that's how you say it? This fight wasn't overly difficult because whenever she is in her tornado form, all you do is jump with Cain and hit her out of it. The boss fight was cool, and I was really surprised with how detailed the sprite was for this one. Like, it was very detailed. But besides all that, we finished the boss and get the achievement, Reforged Love. After some navigating through the overworld, we end up in the town of Agart, where we need to drop this key item into the well there that is so deep that it apparently connects to the underworld. After dropping the key item into the well, the mountains here open up in a giant flame, giving us an opening to fly our airship into the underworld, but sadly we find out that Golbez already beat us here and is fighting the inhabitants of the underworld, which are the dwarves, for the rest of the crystals. But after all that, we end up getting the achievement, To the Depths. We are now in the Tower of Babel, the location where Golbez is keeping all the crystals he currently has, and in the same location where we are fighting the next elemental lord, the last elemental lord, Rubicanth. I think that's how you say his name, the Lord of Fire. Again, this boss was really straightforward. All I need to do was wait for a specific stance that he does. A specific, like, he goes into a specific stance, and then in that stance you deal more damage to him. But he will always counter with a fire spell, or Fyra to be exact. And then sometimes he will cast his, like, really strong spell, Inferno, that might one-shot one of your lower health characters. So the boss fight went by pretty fast. He Inferno'd some of my characters, but we ended up beating him, getting the story achievement, Inflamed Anger. After some wandering around, I ended up randomly going back to Mysidia, trying to figure out where my next location I needed to go was. And lo and behold, it was Mysidia itself. I need to go to where the town's elder was waiting for us to return so that they could do a ceremony, I think it was, to bring up the airship, the Lunar Whale, which was made by an ancestor at the time of the Mysidians. We ended up getting the whale and heading up now to our next location, the moon. This game has so many overworld locations in it, it's crazy. The underworld, the overworld, like the earth of the old overworld, and now the moon. Like, that's 3 locations for a really old game. That's crazy. But we end up now achieving our 3rd achievement, to the moon. After coming back from the moon with our new ally, a Lunarian named Fusroya, I think that's how you pronounce it, we find out we are too late and Golbez has summoned the giant Ababel. The good thing is our allies, the dwarves and Sid, help us get inside the giant, where we need to fight our next boss, all the previous elemental lords themselves. Yep, we are fighting 4 bosses at the same time, but the good thing is they pop up only after you kill one. So it was a lot easier than fighting them all at the same time, so to say. Like, even though I say it was all at the same time, like it's in an order. The bosses seemed a little bit more buffed up this time than the last previous time with health and damage. But like, I ended up just out healing all the damage and using the previous strats that I learned in the game to defeat them. Getting our 2nd last achievement, rematch. We're finally at the end. So the end boss is not Golbez, but actually a Lunarian named Zeromus, who was controlling Golbez the whole time. I'll be honest with you, when I say this, I ended up leveling to level 70 before this fight so I can beat Dark Behemoth for the Ragnarok weapon for Cecil, but being level 70 really made this fight a cakewalk. I feel like if I was under-leveled for this fight, I would be screwed, because Zeromus casts so much AoE magic that does over 1k damage each time. It's nuts. It's really hard to out-heal it if you're a low level. For the fight, we ended up just powerhousing through the whole battle with our over-leveled characters and beat the game, achieving the final achievement to the blue planet. Thank you so much for watching. This Final Fantasy was so much fun to play. Like, it was so much fun to play on stream. I'm super excited that I'm getting so close to making a video for Final Fantasy VII, because that game was like a big part of my childhood. So as soon as I beat 5 and 6 now, I'm going to be making a video on Final Fantasy VII, which I think is going to be over 30 minutes long, because how much content there is in that game and how many achievements that you need to get in that game. But like, thank you guys so much. Have a nice day and peace.